8.
You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Pickle Talk. Yeah, JD and I were just talking about the area I live in and how when I was younger, I used to ride my bike over to an area, to a comic book store, and it smelled horrible because there was a pickle factory there. And then we realized the pickle factory had actually closed 30 years ago. And suddenly we had the show to do. And it was like, oh, we filled up all our time with Pickle Talk. So from now on, we're just Pickle Talk. I think that'll be the future for us, just Pickle Talk. So, all right, we're going to talk about Ahsoka. We got some news to cover. But I thought I'd start the day with a joke. I like starting the day with a joke. It makes me feel kind of like Johnny Carson. I come out and I do a monologue. Except for me, it's just one joke. So here is your daily joke to start the show. It's the World Cup finals, and a man makes his way to his seat right next to the pitch. He sits down and notices that the seat next to him is empty. Now, this is surprising because it was hard for him to get a ticket. So for there to be an empty seat is really surprising in the big finale, in the big finals. Well, he leans over to the person on the other side and says, is anybody sitting here? And he says, no, the seat is empty. And the guy was stunned. He goes, that's incredible. Who in their right mind would have a seat like this for the finale and not use it? And the neighbor says, well, actually, the seat belongs to me. I was supposed to come here with my wife, but she passed away. And this is the first World Cup final we've been to together. You know, we haven't been together since we got married. And the guy's like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That is terrible. But could you find someone else, a friend, a relative, or a neighbor to take her seat? And the man shakes his head sadly and goes, no, they're all at the funeral. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and we've got a good lineup today. After this will be What's in the Box, and then the Comic Book Beardies, and of course, Sketch Up with Mog and Mel. And their guest tonight is somebody I grew up reading, Bill Mouse, who created Nira and also Zen the Intergalactic Ninja. So I think that's going to be a pretty awesome show tonight. You want to check that out. Ed says, I would say what a hilarious, wonderful, and funny joke that was, but Amy is here beside me, so how could you? Hello, Amy. It's not my joke. Yeah. I haven't gotten my script or my joke writers back yet. The the Writers Guild just ended their strike, so I'm still borrowing jokes. So when I get my joke writers back, I'll let you guys know. All right, we are going to hit some news. The first thing I wanted to address is the recent commentary by Martin Scorsese. And Scorsese says, is by the way, a tongue twister. Martin says that we need to fight back against comic book movies or superhero movies to save cinema. And he recommends seeing movies by people like Christopher Nolan. Now, first thing, Christopher Nolan did 3 of the biggest superhero movies of all time: Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Returns. So it's a little funny that that's the example Scorsese used. But what I think is really going on here is that the superhero movies and the big budget movies like Top Gun and Barbie are getting all the box office money. And the thing is that I don't think people are going to the theater as much as they used to. I think they're being very specific that so they're not going to see just everything. They're not, hey, it's Friday, let's go to a movie. They're picking movies they really want to see in the theater. Otherwise, they're waiting for them to hit streaming. I think the industry has changed, and it was pushed into this a lot by the pandemic. So the days of small films going in and making good money aren't really there anymore. The box office is different. So, you put in a Guardians of the Galaxy and people go see it because they want to see it on the big screen with the special effects and everything. But you look at something like, what's his new movie? The Flowers of the Moon, or was it Killers of the Flower Moon, which stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, and it's going to be in theaters, and then it's going to go right to Apple TV. And I don't think Scorsese's happy with that. I think he wants it to go in the theater and stay in the theater for a while and build up money. And that's just not the way it works anymore. The number of people that want to go see Killing of the Flowery Moon, or whatever it is, Flower Moon, is probably smaller than he is happy with. Because, it's not a movie that's going to have big special effects and big fight scenes and spaceships or anything like that. It's a little thriller with De Niro and DiCaprio, and you can watch it on the TV and enjoy it just the same. So people are just not going to the movies. And, Scorsese's blaming superhero movies, but what's really happening is that people just aren't going to the movies as much as they used to. And when they do choose, they go to see the things that benefit from being on the big screen. There's just some movies, it doesn't matter if it's on the big screen. That as long as you get to see, and most people have huge TVs at home anyway, 60-inch, 80-inch. So Scorsese, I didn't make it to watch it on a TV. Well, he technically did. He made it for Apple TV, and they're just putting it in the theater for a little bit. He keeps saying this kind of stuff, and he's going after the superhero movies. But the fact is that he doesn't make the movies that people want to see in the theaters anymore. He makes movies that people enjoy, but they enjoy at home. And he's going to have to just accept that. The world has changed, It's just the way it is. All right, let's move off of that and into some of the news. Speaking of big budget movies, the Marvels just got a boost in a way. It has secured a release in China on the same day as the North American release, November 10th. Now, the original movie was $1 billion plus worldwide grossing film. So, but it had China as part of it. So getting back into China is a big thing. But a lot of the later, more recent movies have not been able to open in China. I mean, Oppenheimer was the first one to get back into China, and that was back on August 30th. So, I mean, it didn't even come out at the same time. Now, it's also good timing because there's some big things going on in China right now, and the company that promotes Marvel movies over there can use these events. The Mid-Autumn Festival, the National Day and Golden Week celebrations, those are all going on now. So they'll be able to promote the Marvels. It's got a different title over there. I think it's called the Power of Marvel. But you know, many Hollywood movies in the post-pandemic era have really had a hard time with the global box office because of the missing China market. And for about 3 years, Marvel was kind of unofficially banned from China. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was the first one to open up there, and that was in February, well after it opened in November here. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania got to open up over there too, and it grossed a little over 39 million, which is less than the last time. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 got to open and made 87 million, and opened up in the same month at least, which is a little more than the original, but down from the 100 million that the Guardians 2 made. So we're kind of, they're kind of building back up, but at least now they're back in to the theater. Some of it is Simu Liu, some of it is some of the stuff that they put in the films, any LGBTQ commentary and stuff that gets nixed, and certain problems they have. So the studios either have to be willing to take it out or they get banned. So, all right, let's move on. If you guys hadn't heard, Michael Gambon, the veteran Irish-English actor of stage and screen, passed away today at the age of 82. He's probably most well known for playing Albus Dumbledore in six of the 8 Harry Potter films. Richard Harris, of course, played Dumbledore in the first 2 films, and then Gambon took over when Harris passed away. The actor's publicist released a statement, said, "We are devastated to announce the loss of Sir Michael Gambon, beloved husband and father. Michael died peacefully in a hospital with his wife Anne and son Fergus at his bedside, following a bout with pneumonia. Michael was 82. We ask that you respect our privacy at this painful time, and thank you for your messages of support and love." So Michael Gambon was a great actor. There's some amazing commentary. If you look online, you'll see all the actors he's worked with are all coming out and posting just wonderful things about the man and how funny he was to work with, and how he can kind of an impish person, or sense of humor. So my condolences to his friends, families, and fans. The trailer for the next Matthew Vaughn film, Argyle, was released, and I got to tell you, it's far better than I expected. Now, I won't say too much about it, but if you're a fan of the Kingsman movies, then this is going to be right up your alley. Also, it has an amazing cast. Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Henry Cavill, Dua Lipa, John Cena, Bryan Cranston, Catherine O'Hara, Adriana DeBose, and Samuel L. Jackson. And the basic story is a writer writes a spy novel that hits a little too close to what some real spy novels are doing, and she ends up getting caught up in the spy world. So check out the trailer. It is really interesting. No, it's not about the chauffeur from Die Hard, Judy. But good thought. Good memory on that, by the way. All right. As we talked about yesterday with the end of the WGA strike, some of the studios are quickly reinstating their overall and first look deals they have. Like with different directors and producers and writers, they have these first look deals, and almost all of them got suspended early on when the strike happened. Well, while certain studios like Warner Brothers and Disney and 20th Century Fox are racing out to reestablish some of the deals. They're not doing all of them. Now, and this is kind of expected. Other studios are supposed to have theirs out by the end of the week, but because they don't automatically extend and they have to be re-extended, this is a time for studios, especially some that are strapped for cash, to end certain deals that they are no longer enamored with. Because you get so much regime change going on, not so much at Disney, but you look at Warner Brothers, how many times those have changed over and over again. And you get somebody who has a deal with a regime that was like 3 regimes back. So the new guys come in, David Zaslav and stuff, and they have to honor these things. Well, this is their way to get out of it. So don't expect all of them to get extended. This is a chance for the studios to get out of some of the debt that they're in, or some of the deals that they no longer want to keep. So, okay. So you got 2 more news stories here. James Gunn took to Threads. He seems to like Threads now, not as much on Twitter, but he's over on Threads now, which is at this point the only thing I see a reason to have Threads. But he was basically answering people's questions. And in the process, he confirmed that Xolo Maridueña will continue to play Blue Beetle in the DCU going forward. Viola Davis will still be Amanda Waller, and John Cena will remain Peacemaker. Now, none of this is breaking news. I think we had all heard this or, believed this, but it's nice to get it confirmed. But Gunn specifically stated again that nothing is canon until the Gods and Monsters begins, which is DCU Chapter 1, and that's going to be Creature Commandos and Superman Legacy. So nothing is canon. Blue Beetle is now on video on demand, but it's not on any of the streaming services yet. I expect it to be about another month. So Creature Commandos will be the first one that's considered canon, even though it's an animated. And of course, that has Davis back as Waller. It also includes Frank Grillo, David Harbour, Maria Bakalova, Indira Verma, Zoe Chow, Alan Tudyk, Sean Gunn, and Steve Agee. But yeah, so anything you see between now and then, like Aquaman is not canon. So they may keep some certain things from it, but it's not technically canon. Gunn went on to say, nothing is canon until Creature Commandos next year, a sort of aperitif to the DCU, and then a deeper dive into the universe with Superman Legacy after that. It's a very human drive to want to understand everything all the time, but I think it's okay to be confused on what's happening in the DCU, since no one has seen anything from the DCU yet. And yes, some actors will be playing characters they've played in other stories, and some plot points may be consistent with plot points from dozens of films, shows, and animated projects that have come from DC in the past. But nothing is canon until CC and Legacy. Gunn was also asked what he was working on during the strike, to which he said, I couldn't write, but I could direct, meaning work on designs, storyboards, etc. And now that the strike is over, he was asked if we would be getting more news on the DCU soon, in which he responded, I don't even know where we are with everything, as I haven't been able to talk with our writers while this has been happening. Although I'm very happy with the outcome, the strike was a real wrench in the process for sure. So I'll have to see where we are on everything for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I'd imagine more news out in the not too distant future. So now that the writer's strike is over, he can start checking in on Brave and the Bold and other series like that, Swamp Thing. And then hopefully the Screen Actors Guild will wrap up their strike soon. They're taking it seriously. They're moving locations. They're supposed to start meeting Monday. So hopefully this will be a very positive thing. And then we can get things rolling again. So, all right, we got one last story here, which I thought was kind of interesting. Could you imagine getting script notes from the President of the United States or a former president? This is exactly what happened to Sam Esmail. He's the writer-director of an upcoming film called Leave the World Behind. And the film is being produced by Higher Ground Productions, which of course is owned by Barack and Michelle Obama. Now, the former president provided notes on the film. Esmail said, in the original draft of the script, I definitely pushed things a lot further than they were in the film now. And President Obama, having the experience he does have, was able to ground me a little bit on how things might unfold in reality. I'm writing what I think is fiction for the most part. I'm trying to keep it as true to life as possible, but I'm exaggerating and dramatizing. And to hear an ex-president say, you're off by a few details, I thought I was off by a lot. The fact that he said that scared the F out of me. Now, Obama said some of the plot points were too pessimistic. Esmail said he had a lot of notes about the characters and the empathy we would have for them. I have to say he's a big movie lover, and he wasn't just giving notes about things that were from his background. He was giving notes as a fan of the book, and he wanted to see a real good film. Now, this is a book that hasn't come out yet. No, this book came out yet. Argyle hasn't come out yet. Getting confused. Leave the World Behind is going to premiere on Netflix on December 8th, but it'll be in theaters November 22nd. So, all right, guys, that is the news. Let's take a quick break, and we come back, and we will catch up on Ahsoka. Be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time. What if Hans Gruber from Die Hard had to battle the Joker from Batman the Animated Series in a dance battle? Or who would win in a race between Baby from Baby Driver and Snidely Whiplash? If Austin Powers and Shrek found themselves in a hot dog eating contest, who would emerge victorious? These are the questions we talk about on Nerd Killer Warfare. Debate the most absurd questions you've ever heard in popular culture. Register now by scanning the QR code or visiting bit.ly/EXP casting.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
everybody. Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Please hit that like and subscribe button. And by the way, hello to Ed, Kenneth, and Triple B. I didn't do my normal hellos today. I'm still kind of getting back up to speed. My voice is a little off still, but I'm getting better. So, hey, JD, you there?
Yes, sir.
Are you watching Ahsoka?
Yes.
Did you watch Rebels or Clone Wars?
No.
Okay. How are you feeling about the these characters that they're bringing in? Are they giving you enough? Are you understanding the connections?
Maybe it's not a fair question for me because my roommate has watched Rebels, and I've been watching it with him, and he's kind of filled me in. I mean, I've been waiting for Grand Admiral Thrawn for a long time because I read Heir to the Empire, I think, when I was like 20.
Okay. See, I'm kind of mixed on the series. I like it, but I don't love it. And I think what's bugging me is that as a writer, I don't think it's well written. And what I mean is that I think there's a lot of relying on pre-existing material. We get Grand Admiral Thrawn introduced in episode 6. We see him in action in episode 7. But all he is, and I hate to say it this way, but he's just an old guy in a frazzled white military outfit commanding people from a hologram. He doesn't win. He delayed them enough to get everything loaded. Okay. But I don't think they've shown in the Ahsoka series that he's actually a threat. We know he's a threat because of Heir to the Empire, the books, and his time in Rebels. And we're told he's a threat by Sabine and Ahsoka and Hera. But we never see it. And how long are they supposed to have been on that world that he hasn't been able to capture Ezra? They came over in the same ship. How did Ezra get out of the Chimera and set up in traveling with the Nadi and all this stuff if Thrawn is such a badass? Yeah, I can see that Dave is still writing for an audience of children. Ed says, I think they're trying to make him like Grand Moff Tarkin, but will never be another Peter Cushing. And I've got nothing against Lars Mikkelsen as an actor. And from what I know about the character, I think he's playing him well. My problem is they're just telling us. And they're doing it on a lot of stuff. The relationship between Sabine and Ahsoka didn't happen in Rebels or Clone Wars. So they gave us a little of that, the training and stuff. But the relationship between Sabine and Ezra, we're never shown why they have that connection. We're never shown why it's so important for Sabine to go find Ezra, their connection. We don't get a flashback. We don't see anything. The connection between Ahsoka and Ezra. I didn't know they'd even met other than when he saved her in the battle with Darth Vader. I didn't know how close they were. But these are all things that we're being told by characters. And the bottom line when you're writing is to show, not tell. And this is a whole lot of telling. You know, this is a whole lot of people basically telling us what people's relationships are and not showing us. Even the relationship between Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, and I think Baylan is the best character in the series. We're just kind of told about it. I trained you to be something more. We never saw anything like that. We didn't see any back and forth between the characters. They're not giving us any of that stuff. They're just telling us the now story, or they're showing us the now story and telling us everything else. And it feels like they're relying too much on Rebels and stuff like that. It says, I like his acting too. I was saying Cushing was used to pull off all talk and little action in classic movies and horror. Thrawn's mannerisms remind me a lot of Tarkin, but it's just not working for me. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that there's a lot of great stuff in this series. But I don't know. It's bothering the writer in me. Because this is a major franchise. This is one of the top franchises in the world. And it feels like it's bad writing. And I don't say it's bad storytelling. I think he's telling an interesting story. But I don't know if Dave Filoni is that good a storyteller or that good a writer. I think he's got great ideas, but he's counting on people knowing stuff that not everybody is going to know. JD says there's no subtext or meaning to anything. Everything is face value. Yeah, I mean, my two favorite characters in this show are the bad guy who we don't know if he's actually bad. He's a mercenary, but we don't know his history. And an android or a robot. David Tennant's robot is just freaking brilliant. You know, Hugh Yang. You know, I would, you know, they said, hey, we're going to do a spin-off series with Baylan Skoll and Hugh Yang going forward to create something new, something better than the Jedi Order, except for the fact that Ray Stevenson's dead. I would have been like, yes, let's watch that series. But I think Rosario Dawson's doing a great job as Ahsoka. I like the castings of Ezra and Sabine. I don't have any problems with the series. I just feel like it's making the audience work too much. You know, it's not giving us everything we need. And that's why I was asking JD, because I was curious if somebody who'd never watched Rebels, because I know I've watched maybe a couple episodes of Rebels, some Clone Wars, but I know enough of the history so I could do shows like this. So I look up stuff. I know who Grand Admiral Thrawn is. I know how Ezra used the Purgles to take him and his fleet out into deep space. You know, but I watch it and it's like, you're not establishing any of these relationships. You're just paying lip service to them. And to me, that's bad writing. So, I don't know. That's why I'm very mixed on it. Like I said, I'm enjoying it. I look forward to the finale. You believe we're already going to be at the finale on Tuesday? And I don't think we're going to get a satisfying ending. but I don't think we're supposed to. I don't think we're going to have resolution. If anything, I think it's going to have an Empire Strikes Back ending. I think we're going to probably lose somebody, and I think we're going to end up with Thrawn back in our galaxy and setting up for what Dave Filoni's upcoming movie. That'll bring together The Mandalorian and Skeleton Crew and Book of Boba Fett and Ahsoka. And, that'll be, and we're seeing little hints of it. They introduced Zeb in in a Mandalorian season 3, and he's a rebel, but he's not showing up in this series. But they mentioned that he's gaining recruits. So Mog says, I agree. A lot of the feels just fan sub, but not writing it well. I don't have the feel, lore, or respect for Thrawn character. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Thrawn is supposed to be a huge bad guy. It's supposed to be the setup for the big bad for Filoni's movie. And all we've seen him do is like play checkers or play chess. He sends people out. We get a hint on how he works. I know that what he does is he studies cultures and he studies people and he figures out their tactics and stuff. And he's a master tactician. But I know that from Rebels and from the lore. I don't know that from this show. Same with Ahsoka. When I stopped watching Clone Wars because I found Ahsoka so annoying. I don't think she's annoying now. I enjoyed her appearances in The Mandalorian, and I'm enjoying her here, but, we're loosely getting some connections. But she ends up in the world between worlds, and we get no explanation for that. We just get it thrown in there. There's a lot of fan service and a lot of Filoni relying on what he's done before. But again, every time I sit down to write something, every comic book, every story, I have to assume that somebody picking up my book, it's going to be the first time they've ever read anything from me. Stan Lee said the same thing. Every comic is somebody's first comic. So to do an entire series where you're relying on animated shows that are quite old now, and yes, you have access to, because if you can watch Ahsoka, then you have access to Rebels, but there are people who are never going to watch animated series. Marvel put out What If, but they're not counting on everybody knowing the stuff in What If. Just like they're not counting on, when they do the Spider-Man freshman year series, they're not going to count on people watching that when it comes to doing the next Spider-Man movie. Because getting, the animated stuff is a bonus for the big fans. It's not a way to drive things forward. I'm curious how it's going to work with the DCU with them doing Creature Commandos as an animated series. Will you need to see that to move forward? I don't think you're going to have to. So JD says, when they established Moff Gideon, we knew, boom, right away, he was the villain. I think part of it is also, with Moff Gideon, we had that moment where you're introduced to Darth Vader. And Darth Vader is scary as hell. He has this great look, and we immediately see him force choking somebody. Just across the table going, and this is somebody on his team that he's just going to kill. And Tarkin goes, no. And he pulls the leash on Vader. So that hierarchy is suddenly established. Vader is a kick. We already know he's a kick-ass villain, just by the look of him and the fact that he can magically choke people. And this guy Tarkin is above him. And then Tarkin blows up an entire planet just to prove a point. They established Tarkin was a badass. They did it pretty easily. We haven't seen anything like that. You know, we didn't even, they could have taken a moment and said, you know, put out the mines, put the minefields out. So we knew he did that specifically because Ahsoka was going to come with the Purgles. You know, we just haven't seen him do anything. And next week is the finale. So, again, I'm enjoying the show. I'm enjoying the characters. I am by far more interested in what's happening with Balin than I am with just about everybody else. I think the Night Sisters are cool, or the Witches of Dathomir. And I love the fact that Claudia Black is playing the lead one. You know, I've always liked her since Farscape. So it's neat to see her in Star Wars now. But again, it just feels like there needs to be more connection. He did say shoot a whale. Yeah, he did. That's true. And that does make you a bad guy for shooting a whale. So, all right. Let's go ahead and we'll take our final break. And when we come back, we'll wrap up the show. So be right back.
Did you know that every experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Remember, we got some great shows lined up for tonight. Miss Jen is going to be bringing a box out of the warehouse and selling whatever's in it on What's in the Box. We have the comic book Beardies. And then tonight we got Mog Park and Mel with their guest Bill Mouse, who, of course, is a creator of Nira and Zen the Intergalactic Ninja. And they're going to have some great art and some good stuff going on there. So definitely join Mog and Mel tonight and the rest of our lineup here on The Experience. Ed asks, do you think they'll recast Balin, or do you think the character is done? I honestly don't know. I saw an article somebody posted asking who should be recast as Balin, and I felt angry about that, because Ray Stevenson hasn't been dead that long. He was an incredible actor. We're still enjoying his performance. So I really don't want to think about him being recast. That said, I know it's possible, because we really don't know what they were planning to do with the character. They might have had big plans for him. It might have been a big part of what Dave Filoni's doing in the next movie. So is it possible that they'll need to recast? It is possible. But again, I hate to think about it, because, I don't know, I've been a big fan of Ray Stevenson's since his days on Rome. And I just don't really like to think about that. But we'll find out at the end of the series, I think. It's too soon to tell. But it seems like they're setting something up. So it wouldn't surprise me. And maybe they end up going with somebody who is the same build as Ray, and they end up with him using a mask or something, and they find some way to do a voice that's close. I don't know. I'm not sure how they're going to handle that one. I'm going to just wait and see on that. Ed says, what's up with that one stormtrooper that has a face? I don't know about that one either. I don't even know where that mask would have come from. Most of the stormtrooper uniforms reminded me a bit of that. Maybe JD will remember what this is. It's a Japanese art style that fills in cracks and stuff with gold. We saw it in He Who Remains Castle in the finale of Loki. And it's, like I said, it's a Japanese art style. So it reminded me of that they would just fill in the things with gold. Now, we did see when the stormtroopers were being shot, they didn't. Kintsugi. Thank you, JD. I knew you'd know that for some reason. When they were being shot, they didn't do what Merrick did and turn into green smoke. So the odds are those stormtroopers are alive. They're probably not an army of the dead. Now, there might be an army of the dead, which is the cargo that they're putting on the ship. I don't know. But those troopers, at least, appear to be alive, because they're dying when they're getting shot. So, but where that gold mask came from, the only thing I can think of is that there's an ancient race called Zepho from Star Wars history that's similar to Dathomir, the Witches of Dathomir, where they come from another galaxy into the main Star Wars galaxy. And when you're looking around where Thrawn is, there's a lot of Zepho relics and hieroglyphs and stuff like that in writing. So that could be a mask from that race or that group that they just used to put in. But again, it just feels like we're not going to get a lot of answers in the finale. I think what we're doing is we're setting up the movie, and that we're going to get that Empire Strikes Back feeling of, oh God, the bad guys lost, the good guys lost, the bad guys are going to win, and then we'll get the Dave Filoni movie. So at least that's how I see it. JD says, I feel like Thrawn is a red herring. There's something else in that universe that wanted to cross over. Yeah, I think that's Balin. I think that's what Balin's dealing with. Now, somebody asked on social media, who's calling to Balin? And I told him that it's an ancient Force user who's trying to reach Balin about the extended warranty on his spaceship. But there are a lot of figures from lore that we saw in the animated series and in the books that are ancient, that are old Force users before the Jedi. So it could be somebody like that. Or it could be, there's this whole father, daughter, son balance of the Force thing that they introduced. And Ahsoka is the embodiment of the daughter. So it could be that the son is looking for someone, or it could be the father's looking for somebody. So it could tie into that. And we end up with Balin and Ahsoka as mortal enemies. There's just too much at this point to make a reasonable guess. So JD says, no, that's silly. It just wants to know if he's happy with his internet service. Of course, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Or if he wants to do any home improvements. So, all right, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and end it there. Remember to stick around for all the great lineup. I will be doing Pop Go the Writers on Sunday with Jim Beard, and then I will be back on Tuesday. And, if there's any topics you guys want me to cover, hit me up. You can get me on Facebook. You can reach us through the experience. Let me know if there's some character you want me to do a deep dive on. There's some show you want me to cover. I'm probably going to watch The Continental, so we can have a discussion about that. Still got a few other things I got to catch up with. Mainly, I'm waiting to watch them with Lisa, who's going to be coming down not this weekend, but next weekend. So hopefully I'll have a lot we can talk about after that. But yeah, I know Ed wants the crochet show. I need to get my crocheting back up to speed. I haven't done much in the last month or two, but so, all right, guys, thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Have a great night.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.